My wife of 39 years died on a Tuesday morning in February, and the house never sounded the same after that. Sandra Allen passed quietly, which is exactly the way she would have wanted it. No fuss. No drama. She'd fought breast cancer for 14 months, and in the end, the cancer won. But she never complained. Not once. That was Sandra, the kind of woman who apologized for taking up hospital bed space. I held her hand until it went still. I drove home alone, sat in the kitchen in my coat, and stared at the coffee pot for 2 hours because I didn't know what else to do. Her name is on everything in this house. The return address labels she ordered in bulk. The handwriting on the recipe cards in the drawer. The photo on the refrigerator where she's laughing at something I said that wasn't even that funny. I'm Richard Allen. I'm 68 years old. I live in a 3-bedroom colonial on Birchwood Lane in Raleigh, North Carolina. A house Sandra and I bought in 1991, the year our son Tyler turned 4 years old. Tyler grew up in this house, shot hoops in this driveway, ate 30 years of Christmas dinners at this table. He was the first person I called 18 months after Sandra died, when my world cracked open for the second time. It was a Thursday morning in late September. A cool, clear day that made you feel hopeful for no reason. I'd been to the urologist 3 weeks before for what I thought was routine. Some urgency, some discomfort. Nothing catastrophic. My doctor, Dr. Ellis over at Wake Med, had ordered a biopsy after my PSA levels came back elevated. I'd told myself it was nothing. Men of a certain age, elevated PSA, happens all the time. The nurse called while I was sitting in the backyard with my coffee, watching a cardinal on the fence post. She said Dr. Ellis needed to see me that afternoon. She said it in that particular tone, measured, careful, not unkind. That tells you before you even get there. Stage 3 prostate cancer. Aggressive subtype, treatment needed to begin within the month. I sat in that examination room for a long time after Dr. Ellis left. The walls were that beige color that hospitals seem legally required to use. There was a laminated poster about the importance of annual screenings. The irony was not lost on me. I was 66 years old, 18 months a widower, and I'd just been told my body was doing its best to join my wife ahead of schedule. In the parking garage, I sat in the truck for 20 minutes. Then I called Tyler. He picked up on the third ring. "Hey, Dad." "What's up, Tyler?" My voice held barely. "I've got some news. Some bad news. I just left Dr. Ellis's office. They found cancer. Prostate. Stage 3. I need to start treatment pretty soon. Not a long one. The kind that's not about thinking. It's about deciding." "Dad." Another pause. "Look, Wow. That's a lot." "Yeah," I said. "It is. I mean, are you sure?" "Did he explain all the options?" "He did." We talked for a while. Radiation and hormone therapy to start. Possibly surgery down the line depending on how it responds. Silence. I could hear background noise. Dishes. Maybe. The sound of his fiancée, Kate, somewhere nearby. "Dad, I don't even know what to say. The timing of this is just... It's really bad timing." I remember thinking, there's no such thing as good timing for cancer. Kate and I we're in full wedding mode right now. The venue deposit, the catering contracts, the honeymoon booking, we've got 6 months of planning ahead of us, and it's basically a second job. I can't take something else on right now. I really can't. Something in me went very quiet. Not cold, not angry. Just quiet, like a room after all the furniture's been removed. "I'm not asking you to take it on," I said slowly. "I'm telling you I have cancer, and I hear you. Dad, I do. But you're strong. You've always been the most capable person I know. You'll find a good team at Wake Med, you'll get the treatment, and you'll come out the other side. You've got your guys from the neighborhood. What about Frank? Or Bill from the Lions Club? You're not exactly short on people. Frank is 72 with a bad hip. Bill is in a memory care facility in Cary. Tyler, Dad, I love you, but I can't do this right now. Kate, this would just add so much stress to what's already a really stressful time. Can we talk about this in a few weeks, after the venue stuff settles down?" I looked out the windshield of that parking garage. A man was loading groceries into the car across from me. Normal Tuesday afternoon things. "Sure," I said. "We'll talk in a few weeks." I didn't call back crying. I just made a different kind of note. Now, let me tell you something about prostate cancer treatment, because it matters to this story and because too many men don't know what they're walking into. Stage 3 prostate cancer, also called locally advanced prostate cancer, means the tumor has grown beyond the prostate gland itself, but has not yet spread to distant organs. The standard treatment protocol for an aggressive case like mine involves a combination of external beam radiation therapy, which is typically administered 5 days a week for 7 to 9 weeks, and androgen deprivation therapy, commonly called ADT. ADT works by dramatically reducing testosterone levels because prostate cancer cells feed on testosterone. The side effects are significant: fatigue that makes you feel like you're moving through wet concrete, hot flashes, mood shifts, loss of bone density over time, and a particular kind of loneliness that comes from your own body turning against you in ways you can't explain to anyone. I started treatment the first week of November. My radiation oncologist was Dr. Patel at the Rex Cancer Center on Blue Ridge Road in Raleigh. She was thorough, direct, and had the particular warmth of someone who has chosen a profession that requires them to deliver the worst news on someone's best day. I drove myself to every appointment, 56 radiation sessions over 11 weeks, including a break for the holidays, which the cancer did not observe. On the mornings I felt too tired to get up. I thought about Sandra, about how she never once asked me to come with her to treatment, about how she'd pack a book in her reading glasses and make it look like an errand. She was braver than she ever got credit for. I didn't know it yet, but I was about to understand exactly how she felt. Tyler got married on a Saturday in April at a vineyard outside of Chapel Hill. I know this because I received an invitation in the mail, thick cardstock, gold foil lettering, the kind that costs $4 a piece to print. I set it on the kitchen counter and looked at it every morning for 2 weeks. I did not attend, not because I was petty. I was in the middle of hormone therapy and I was exhausted in ways that are hard to explain to someone who hasn't experienced it. But more than the fatigue, I simply hadn't heard from my son since that phone call in October. Not once. Not a text asking how treatment was going. Not a call to check whether I was eating. Nothing. Kate sent me a Christmas card. It had a dog on it. "Happy Holidays, Richard," in Kate's handwriting, and Tyler's name signed underneath like an afterthought. That was the full extent of family communication during 8 months of cancer treatment. My neighbor, Donna Hall, a retired schoolteacher from 4 houses down who I barely knew before all this, started leaving covered dishes on my porch twice a week. Tuesday dinners and Thursday lunches. Chicken soup, baked ziti, a pot roast once that made me sit down at the table and eat like a human being for the first time in weeks. I left a thank you note in her mailbox. She waved it off like I'd thanked her for breathing. The guys from my Thursday morning Bible study at First Presbyterian took turns driving me to appointments when the fatigue got bad. Gary Hutchins, 64, retired electrician, told terrible jokes the entire drive every single time. I looked forward to those terrible jokes more than I can say. I didn't know it then, but I was building a family. It just didn't share my last name. My follow-up scans in July showed the tumor had responded. Dr. Patel used the phrase, "favorable response to treatment." She's cautious with language, doesn't use the word remission lightly. But she was smiling when she said it. By August, 1 year after diagnosis, my PSA levels had dropped to near undetectable. I went to Donna's porch, knocked on her door, and told her. She burst into tears, grabbed my arms, and said, "Richard Allen, you are the most stubborn man I have ever met in my life, and I mean that as the highest possible compliment." We celebrated with sweet tea on her front porch and an entire plate of her lemon bars. And it was one of the better evenings I've had in recent memory. 2 years after diagnosis, I was cancer-free. Life had settled into something I hadn't expected. It was good. Not the way it was good with Sandra. That was a different kind of good, irreplaceable. But it was genuinely, quietly good. I had my routines back. I was sleeping through the night. I'd started going to the gym again. Nothing heroic, just the elliptical 3 mornings a week and some light weights. I had Donna down the street. The Thursday group, a solid rotation of people who showed up not because they had to, but because they chose to. Tyler and I had exchanged perhaps 11 text messages over 2 years, mostly on birthdays and holidays. The kind of exchanges that are technically communication and emotionally nothing. I didn't think about my son much on an ordinary basis. That sounds harder than it is. When someone shows you who they are, clearly and completely, the grief of it has a beginning and an end. I'd done my grieving. What remained was just the clear-eyed recognition of reality. But I didn't know what was coming. I didn't know that on a Tuesday morning in October, 2 years almost to the week, after my diagnosis, my phone would ring with a number I'd recognize immediately. And I didn't know that everything I'd built in those 2 quiet years was about to be tested. The call came at 9:17 in the morning. I know the time because I was in the middle of making scrambled eggs and I'd just set the pan down. Tyler's name on the screen. Not a text. Not a birthday message. An actual phone call. I stood there and looked at it for 3 full rings. Tyler. Dad. His voice was wrong, thick, unsteady. Not the practiced smoothness I'd heard in our handful of calls over 2 years. Dad, I need to talk to you. Okay. I was in an accident. Last week. I was on I-40 coming back from a client meeting and a truck ran a red light on the ramp. I mean, it was bad, Dad. Really bad. Fractured my collarbone, 3 broken ribs, some internal bruising. I was in the hospital for 4 days. I'm home now, but I'm not supposed to drive. I can't do stairs well. I can't really cook. Are you all right? I asked. And I meant it. Whatever else was between us, this was my son, and something in me responded before I could think about it. I'm going to be okay. Eventually. But right now, I'm pretty much useless. And the thing is, his voice broke. Actually broke the first time I had heard Tyler Allen cry since he was 12 years old and his dog died. Kate left, Dad. A beat. She left. 2 days after I got home from the hospital. She said she couldn't handle being a caregiver. That this wasn't what she signed up for. She packed a bag and went to stay with her mother and sent me a text saying she'd be in touch about the apartment. I set the spatula down on the counter. A text. After 18 months of marriage, after the venue deposits and the catering contracts and the second job wedding planning. A text. Tyler, I'm sorry. That's a terrible thing to go through. Dad, I have nobody. The words came out raw and unguarded in a way I hadn't heard from him in years. My friends, my work friends, they checked in for the first few days and now I can't lift anything. I can't drive, I can barely shower without it hurting. I've been eating delivery food for 6 days. He stopped. Dad, could you come and stay for a while? Just until I'm back on my feet. You're retired, you've got the time, and I just really need someone right now. There it was. The ask that had been building since the first ring of the phone. I need someone right now. The kitchen was very quiet. The eggs were going cold in the pan. Outside, a car drove slowly down Birchwood Lane. Normal Tuesday morning things. I thought about that parking garage in Raleigh. The beige walls of Dr. Ellis's examination room. 56 radiation appointments in an 11-week stretch. Every single one driven alone or with Gary Hutchins and his terrible jokes. The Christmas card with the dog on it. Happy holidays, Richard. I thought about Donna Hall leaving a covered dish on my porch because she barely knew me and chose to show up anyway. About Gary driving 40 minutes round trip twice a week, for months. About the Thursday group sitting with me through results that could have gone either way. I thought about what Tyler said on the phone 2 Octobers ago. Not the exact words, I didn't need to replay them, but the shape of them. I can't take something else on right now. The wedding is too important. You'll figure it out. And I thought about something Dr. Patel had told me early in treatment, when I was struggling with the fatigue and what felt like the unfairness of doing this alone. She'd said, Richard, one of the most important things you can do for your recovery is to be honest about your boundaries. Stress is not neutral. It has a chemical effect on your body. Protect your peace like it's medicine. Because right now, it is. Protect your peace like it's medicine. I took a slow breath. Tyler, I said, I can't deal with this right now. Complete silence. 8 words became 4. His words, his exact words, handed back with the same calm delivery he'd used 2 years ago in a parking garage while I sat with a cancer diagnosis and shaking hands. The silence stretched. Dad. I have things going on. My voice was even. Not cold, not cruel, even. I have my routines, my people, my appointments. I've got a life that I built while you were planning a wedding, and I'm not in a position to drop it. Are you, Dad? Are you serious right now? I am. I'm hurt. I was in a serious accident. I've got broken ribs and a fractured collarbone, and my wife just left me. I don't have anyone. I know, I said. I know exactly what that feels like. That landed. I could hear it land. That's not fair. Maybe not, I said, but it's true. Another silence. Longer this time. Dad, I know I wasn't there for you the way I should have been. Okay? I know that. I've known it for a while. But I was 29 and I was overwhelmed and I made a bad call. I can't go back and change it. No. I agreed. You can't. You're just going to leave me alone because I made a mistake 2 years ago? I pulled up a stool at the kitchen counter and sat down. This was a conversation that deserved to be seated. Tyler, listen to me. I'm not leaving you alone. I'm telling you that I can't drop my life and drive to wherever you are to be your caregiver, right now, on a Tuesday phone call. That's different. How is that different? Because what I'm not doing is telling you that you're on your own and hanging up the phone. What I'm not doing is sending you a Christmas card with a dog on it and calling that family. I'm telling you what I can and can't do and having an honest conversation about it. That's different. A long pause. What would you be willing to do? And here is where the story changes. I didn't know it yet, but that question, that small, humbled question, was the first honest thing Tyler had said to me in 2 years. I'll call you, I said, every day while you're recovering. I'll make sure you're not going through this without hearing a familiar voice. I'll find out what you actually need, not what's easiest for me to give, but what you actually need, and we'll figure out what's real. I need someone here, Dad. Then we'll find someone to be there. Tyler, I have more connections in this city than you know. I've got a network of people who helped me through something that nearly killed me, and some of them have exactly the kind of time and resources to help you get connected with the right support. A home health aide, at minimum. Someone to do grocery runs, help with meals, check in. That's not impossible to arrange. That's not the same as family. No, I said quietly, it's not. The eggs were cold. I didn't touch them. Tyler, do you want to talk about what happened not 2 years ago, right now? Your marriage. The accident. What's actually going on with you? A long pause. Yeah, he said, and his voice broke again, smaller this time. Yeah, I think I do. We talked for 2 hours and 40 minutes that morning. I learned things I hadn't known. That Tyler and Kate had been struggling long before the accident, that the wedding that had been too important for him to come to my aid had been covering cracks in the foundation from the beginning. That Tyler had been in therapy for 8 months, quietly working on things he hadn't known how to name. That he'd thought about calling me dozens of times over 2 years and hadn't known how to start the conversation. I told him about treatment, not the whole story. That would take more than one call, but enough. I told him about the parking garage. I told him about Donna's lemon bars. I told him about Gary's terrible jokes. At one point, Tyler said, I didn't know it was that bad, Dad. I know, I said. That's the point. Not cruel, just true. At the end of the call, I told him I'd reach out to a woman from my church who had spent years connecting people with in-home recovery support. I told him I'd call him tomorrow. I told him the door to this relationship was not closed, but that it was going to be built differently, or not at all. Differently how? He asked. Honestly, I said, going forward, we tell each other the truth. Even when it's inconvenient, even when the timing is bad, we don't send Christmas cards with dogs on them and call that staying in touch. A small sound, maybe a laugh, Maybe something else. Okay, Dad. Get some rest. Eat something that isn't delivered in a bag. Yeah. Okay. I hung up, sat in the kitchen for a while, looked at the cold eggs, got up and made a fresh batch, and for the first time in a long time, I ate breakfast at the table like a man with somewhere to be. If you've made it this far, do us one quick favor. Subscribe. A lot of people watch without ever doing it, but it costs you nothing and means everything to us. Thank you, genuinely. I did call him the next day, and the day after that, and the day after that. My church contact, a woman named Beverly Coates who has organized more care networks than I can count, had Tyler connected with a reputable home health agency within 48 hours. A certified nursing assistant named Denise started going in every weekday morning, helping with meals, medication tracking, basic mobility support while the ribs healed. Tyler called her terrifyingly efficient, and I told him that was exactly what he needed. Over the weeks that followed, something shifted between us. Slowly. Not dramatically. This isn't a movie where the music swells and everyone weeps in an airport. It was quieter than that. Incrementally, more honest. The first week, he mostly complained about Denise's meal choices. The second week, he started asking me questions. About the radiation, about what the fatigue actually felt like, about how I managed 18 months alone after Sandra. The third week, he cried on the phone for 20 minutes talking about Kate. Not about her leaving. About what he realized. Once she left, he'd been missing long before she packed the bag. I think I married her partly because I was scared, he said during one of those calls. After Mom died, I just wanted everything to be settled. The house, the job, the wife. All the boxes checked, like if everything looked right from the outside, I wouldn't have to feel how bad things felt on the inside. Tyler, I said, that's one of the most honest things you've ever said to me. And I suppose it did. I told him about Sandra's last months, about what it's like to watch someone you love more than anything decline, and how there's no way to prepare for the silence afterward. About how the house on Birchwood Lane still had her handwriting on the recipe cards and I wasn't going to change that. I should have been there more after Mom died, he said. I didn't know how to be around grief. I ran from it. You were 28 years old and you'd just lost your mother, I said. There's room to understand that. There's also room to be honest that it left me alone in ways that mattered. Both things, he said. Both things, I agreed. That was the conversation I'd been waiting 2 years to have, and it only happened because I didn't drive 3 hours to go make it easier for him to avoid it. Now I want to talk to you about something, because this story is not just about what Tyler did, or what I did. It's about something bigger. We live in a culture that tells us family loyalty means unlimited availability, that love means self-erasure, that if someone is suffering, no matter what they've done, no matter how they treated you in your own suffering, the right thing, the moral thing, the loving thing is to show up and absorb it. That is not love. That's conditioning. Real love, the sustainable, life-giving kind, requires honesty. It requires people to be accountable to each other. It requires that you be willing to say, what you did mattered, and we can't pretend it didn't. And that's actually how we get somewhere real. When Tyler said, I can't deal with this right now, to a father newly diagnosed with cancer, he was not having a bad day. He was revealing a pattern, a way of relating to people in his life that prioritized his own comfort over their genuine need. That pattern did not get better by being accommodated. It got better by being named. My 4 words, I can't deal with this, were not revenge. They were a mirror. They were me refusing to model the behavior of endless, unconditional availability to someone who had not yet learned that relationships require reciprocity. The boundary was not the end of the relationship. It was the beginning of an honest one. There is a difference between punishing someone and protecting yourself. I was not punishing Tyler. I was protecting the life I'd built. The routines, the community, the health, the peace, things that had cost me everything to construct while he was buying catering contracts. I was also, whether he knew it at the time or not, giving him the single most useful gift a parent can give an adult child. The experience of consequences of their choices don't learn to make better ones. They just learn that someone will always absorb the impact. Tyler is 38 years old. He is fully capable of learning. But he would not have started without the 4 words. It's been 4 months since that first phone call. Tyler is physically recovered. The ribs healed cleanly. The collarbone required a longer timeline, but he's back to driving and working. He's still in therapy. He's not dating, which I think is correct and good. We talk 3 times a week now. Not because either of us has declared a reconciliation and hung up the bunting, but because we built a habit of honesty. And honesty, it turns out, wants to continue. He came down to Raleigh for Thanksgiving. First time he'd been to the house on Birchwood Lane in 3 years. He walked in and stood in the kitchen doorway for a moment. "Everything looks the same," he said. "Most of it," I said. Donna came over for part of the evening. The Thursday group stopped by. Gary brought a pie that was, to be honest, somewhat ambitious for a man who claims he can't bake. Beverly from church. The handful of the people who had shown up when nobody asked them to. Tyler watched all of it with an expression I couldn't quite read. After everyone had gone home and we were washing up, he said, "You built a whole life, didn't you?" "Had to," I said. "I'm glad," he said. "I really am." And I believed him. We are not where we were before Sandra died. We may never get there. That version of our family existed in a particular window of time and circumstance, and that window is closed. But we are somewhere real, somewhere true. That is worth more to me than the version that looked fine from the outside. If you're listening to this and you're in the position I was in, if you're going through something serious and the people who should be beside you have decided their convenience is more important, I want to say this clearly. You are not obligated to manufacture forgiveness before someone has earned it. Forgiveness is not a performance you put on to make others comfortable. It is a process. It happens when it happens, if it happens, on your timeline and nobody else's. You are allowed to build a life that does not center around people who have chosen not to show up for yours. The neighbors, the friends, the Thursday groups, the Donna Hall of this world, the people who choose you without being required to. Those relationships are not consolation prizes. They are the real thing. And if the people who abandoned you come back, as they often do, asking for what they refused to give, you are allowed to pause. You are allowed to breathe. You are allowed to decide what you can and cannot do, and to say so honestly, and to mean it. 4 words can change everything. Not because they're clever, not because they're cruel, but because sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is hold up a mirror and let someone see, at last, what their own reflection looks like. I'm Richard Allen. I'm 68 years old, cancer-free, and building something worth keeping. And I'm just fine. If you liked this story, join our community by hitting that like button and subscribing for more family-centered accounts like this.